be something real and something considerate. Be pansexual.
We did make predictions on the Oscars, and I got 18 of them right, and you got like 7 of them right.
You got 18 of them right? You're lying. You're lying.
Lexi and I died.
The cis mind could never compete against the trans mind.
Yeah, I missed a few of the short categories. I missed on cinematography and casting. I flipped one battle after another in centers on those. I got all the actor categories right, and I got. I actually did predict that Sinners would win Best Picture, so I got that one wrong, but I got most of the rest of them right.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess I'm happy for you. And let's dive into this, okay? Why are we screwing around? Why are we playing t-ball right now? Let's put on our big girl shoes and play softball.
Well, I know a little bit about that critique. I know that Tiana has talked about it a lot. I know that we have the portrayal of many different characters, in particular her character, who is so flawed and unfortunately makes decisions that are detrimental to the revolution that she's trying to fight. It's complicated. We always knew that we were trying to make something complicated. We knew that we weren't making something that was heroic, and we needed to lean into that, and we needed to own the fact that this woman was suffering not only from postpartum depression, but she had issues of her own that she hadn't really reconciled with. It's a very dangerous thing when you start out and you want to change the world, but you start to kind of become selfish, and you read your own reviews. That was our hero in Perfidia, who becomes an anti-hero. The point of it is to set up the story of Willa, the next generation. What happens when your parents, who are damaged and have handed quite a difficult history to you, how do you manage that? That's our story, and our story is in Chase and her evolution to like I talked about in terms of the generational aspect, to try to do better.
All right, so I've now heard Paul Thomas Anderson say this: we're supposed to be partying. He does, however, then answer the question.
Does he?
Yeah.
Why are you caping for a white man right now?
Look, Paul Thomas Anderson may not be as ready to meet this moment as some others. I do so there was like a Vulture article by Fran Hopfner wrote, Paul Thomas Anderson explains himself, parentheses, kind of. And she starts by saying, not unreasonably, he wanted the work to speak for itself. And this reminds me of a famous conversation that you had with one of the guests on the show, where you were like, "Oh, why aren't they talking about Gramsci?" And then the guest was like, "Oh yeah, well, I don't need the filmmaker to talk about Gramsci." So I feel like I'm more on that side, but
I didn't realize I was podcasting with Brutus right now, and me, the humble Caesar of this podcast. I'm getting two knives, one from the front and one from the back. No. I mean, look, I understand. Why are we looking to Paul Thomas Anderson to be the representation of the vanguard? And I'm not even like some dork ass loser that like wants to make sure I gatekeep the vanguard or something like that. What I am is I'm livid about the idea that this guy is using the politics of the modern day, of the current moment, that are needed for the sake of making a movie that's fundamentally about two white men dealing with a parental dispute. And I don't like that. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I definitely think it's fair to critique the film, and that it kind of uses the revolutionary politics as like a Trojan horse to get to like this this like family drama. I do think you're selling it somewhat short in that I think Chase Infinity is like one of the main characters in this movie. This the biracial daughter of Leo's character in Perfidia, and I think that she's the one who comes off the best. She's the real hero of the film. I think that Leo, like he tries to get back into things, but I think it's Willa. She's the one who like really gets the job done at the end of the day.
I think it's understandable to give the props to Chase Infinity, who is a young actor whose debut is an incredible presentation. What I will say is that those are extra textual clarifications or contingencies, right? They're not as textual as what is happening there. Chase Infinity is still a prop in between these two characters. And the reason why I bring up this clip, in this clip that we're talking about, is about the racial politic. This writer for HuffPo, Najee Perkins, asked this question about the racial politics, and Paul Thomas Anderson then proceeds to like babble. He babbles. He doesn't give a direct answer about any of this, and in fact says he hasn't been paying attention to the racial politic conversation about this, and goes forward and says that Tiana Taylor has been the one that has been taking the charge to answer those questions. Which, look, I'm not some social justice warrior, but what I am is someone who sees Paul Thomas Anderson be rewarded for the use of politics, of people, and of concepts that he doesn't seem to give a real fuck about. For the sake of what? A movie? Sure, that's great, I guess. That's great. And I'm, like I said, I'm no SJW, right? I'm not gonna sit here and say my politics are not your costume. What I'm gonna say is that this guy is uninterested in any of this, of the material, of the concepts that he is playing around with. What he's interested is doing the same thing that a lot of men do in his ilk, which is prop up his own fatherhood as the crown on his head that we should all admire. And I don't like that shit. And I don't like the Academy for rewarding it.
So I think I have a different interpretation of what he's trying to do. Like the way that I took his screenwriting speech was that he was like, our generation fucked it up. Your generation is going to be the one that can hopefully save us, which I think is a bit like demeaning, like the children will always save us. It definitely takes away the responsibility of the current generation. But I don't necessarily think he's trying to like prop up the crown and say that everyone should worship him. I do. So I kind of went into this Oscar ceremony. I love One Battle After Another. I love Sinners. I would have been happier with either of them winning. They're my top two movies of the last year. There's a lot of movies I haven't seen, so I'm sure that over time, other movies could start playing both or either of them. But yeah, I think that this movie has produced a lot of really good discussions, a lot of them started by a Black woman, about the shortcomings of the movie, the shortcomings of the writing. I really like Angelica J. Bastian's piece about how Black actresses are carrying one battle after another, and about how really they were the ones who filled in a lot of the holes that the writing of that movie did. And yeah, I think I do think part of the reason why One Battle After Another won is because of people thinking, oh, PTA deserves his due. You know, he almost won for There Will Be Blood. Some people thought he should have won for The Master or Boogie Nights or so many other movies. And I really do hope that Coogler will win in the future because Sinners is a great movie. I love Creed. Black Panther, probably the best or one of the best MCU movies. Going all the way back to Fruitvale Station, his collaborations with Michael B. Jordan have been fantastic. I'm really happy Michael B. Jordan won for Best Actor. That was and one of the best moments of the ceremony was for Best Cinematography. The first woman, the first Black person to win Best Cinematography for Black Panther. So I left the night feeling happy with a lot of the wins. I was not happy with a lot of winners being cut off before they even had a chance to speak. But yeah.
Look, I understand that we have different POVs here, and I think the reason why I want to talk about One Battle After Another and Paul Thomas Anderson is that you said something there that like it pisses me off, honestly, which is he deserves the victory. Oh, he's gotten also many nominations but never won. What, like, is that not the definition of a participation trophy? Is that not the why is he getting this for this movie versus other ones where he could get like a lifetime achievement award? He's not a young man. He could definitely get a lifetime achievement award if he deserves recognition for all the previous nominations that he didn't get. And I just don't like it. I just don't like it. And I don't like it in relation to and the reason why I'm talking about politics is because he doesn't want to like connect to politics. And I literally, as we're talking, I just got a notification that is about the new No Kings protest that's happening in Chicago in March, whatever. The No Kings protests and marches and all that stuff, all of those are directly funneled through some of the Walton scions. And it's no different. To me, both One Battle After Another and the No Kings marches fit in the exact same place in RAM. They're the exact same thing to me. It's the use of radical politics by those people in power, those people with connections, those people with influence, for the sake of continuing that. Paul Thomas Anderson is that speech is nice, and yeah, it is a little bit of a cop-out to be like, the kids will save us. But it doesn't make any sense. He is a rich, powerful director in Hollywood. He could do that right now. And you know what? That fits well within the It miniseries that we're talking about. He is waiting for someone else to come in and do the thing that he wants, even though that he has all the tools, all the money, and all the connections to do it. But you know what, Marcy? We're here to talk about gay sex.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of a bigger issue with the Oscars. The way I think part of it is like they're used to, in the past, like giving Scorsese Best Picture for The Departed when they know that there are other movies. I think part of it is like they know that in the past they made mistakes and they want to correct those mistakes. I do think One Battle After Another, it was one of the most critically acclaimed movies of the year. So I don't think it's just like, oh, we love these old movies. Like, it won so many critics awards. But you're right. We're here to talk about gay sex.
That's right. Let's talk about gay sex. I am your Dove AP, and I did not have gay sex this week.
I'm your Dove, Marcy, and wow, we've suddenly turned into we're having gay sex with Ashley Gavin. But no, we're here to talk about a movie. We're here to talk about The Living End, directed by Greg Araki, that came out in 1992. Hey, that was the year I was born. Whoa, I just revealed my age.
Nice. Oh, wait, actually, quick question. What's your mother's maiden name again? Just from my notes.
Nomi.
Yeah, so this movie, The Living End, is what we're going to be covering today. We're going to talk about the AIDS of it all. We're gonna talk about how I want a boyfriend. We're gonna talk about kissing, and honestly, the sauce that makes this mini series what it is, which is what happens after the big change in status quo happens. What comes after? And I think this movie is really hits on that hard.
Yeah. We basically decided on this movie after we had developed the idea for the miniseries, and I think it fits pretty perfectly. And it's very queer, which is important to us. So yeah, this is basically the movie about um, two HIV positive young gay men, and they kind of just meet randomly. One of them just killed someone, maybe a cop, and is just running, and this other guy is driving, and hey, someone needs a car, the other one has a car, and suddenly they're on a road trip together, and they're having sex and everything. So, yeah, it's not a very story focused movie, but it's a movie with a lot of violence and a lot of being gay.
This movie has a surprising amount of murder in it.
Hmm.
It also has a surprising amount of like just general crimes. And Greg Araki really was ahead of his time. He didn't say, he didn't ask the question, "Can you be gay and do crimes?" He just said, "Yeah, it's in your blood, brother. It's in my blood. It's in my blood twice as a Mexican and homosexual."
Hmm. Yeah, it's in my blood twice as being trans and being a vampire.
I talked about this with you a little bit, that there seems to be like a vampirism to this relationship. Uh, John, who we start the movie with, learns that he has AIDS and learns that he gets the spiel that like many people are living with it. There's nothing to fear. Um, and of course, there's stuff to fear and there's things to worry about because you just learn about your whole life just changed. It's something completely different. So John is kind of like frozen. He depersonalizes at that moment where he hears the bad news, only for Luke to come in like Lestat and be all gay and vampiric.
Yeah. Before we get more into this, I'm curious, like, what are your like overall thoughts about this movie? Like, did you enjoy watching it?
I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's a great movie. I would say it's a fun movie. I would say like this is the type of movie that you could like rewatch dozens of times with like new people and enjoy it. With that said, I'm not clamoring to rewatch it.
Yeah, I think this movie has me clamoring to watch more Greg Araki movies, given that that was the first one of his that I'd seen. And I think, he's been influential on queer cinema. And, I wasn't watching this movie as a baby. And I definitely heard people talk about Araki on the internet. Like I remember when the Riverdale episode came out where he directed. I think I had fallen off the show by that point, but I remember people being like, "Oh, is this going to turn more people on to like classic queer cinema?" I think it mostly just turned more people on to watching Riverdale. But yeah, I think.
He also did some work on 13 Reasons Why, which I
Mhm.
watched the entire first season when it came out. I was in college. And let's just say, interesting season, interesting show. I'm glad it didn't put more people on to suicide. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. Better Riverdale
Yeah,
than self deletion.
Yeah. There are two paths before you, Riverdale or ending your life. I mean, Riverdale might get pretty annoying, but it's still the better choice. Yeah, I never watched 13 Reasons Why. I remember when it came out, most people were talking about like the ending of the first season and how graphic it was. And then I think eventually Netflix edited it to be less graphic. And I just remember like critics were talking about how you're like, yeah, the show, it's not really very good. It's very repetitive. And I think that was when I was starting to establish my anti-Netflix stance of like, Netflix has too long episodes. Their seasons feel very bloated. And I was like, I can skip this one.
As someone who watched Hemlock Grove when it was on Netflix, I can tell you, yeah, it's been there from the very beginning. That show lost its momentum at about 1/3 of every episode. So yeah, it's something endemic to that like perfidious concept of streaming. Tetsurando's dirty hand on the nape of creatives.
Yeah, it is kind of funny that somehow Netflix became the hero of the whole Warner Brothers merger thing. Of everyone's like, "Oh, Netflix is terrible, but I'd rather have them do this than Paramount." So,
Which is like, what do you want more? 3 inches of a blade in your heart or 2 inches of a blade in your heart? It is no choice.
yeah, it's very much the 99% versus 100% Hitler discussion just for TV.
Which, I mean, if you're gonna be serious, you leave that conversation immediately. You never want to have that conversation.
Yeah, I mean, if we're soon going to start getting into like the 99.95% Hitler discussions. Like, how many significant figures do we need until it literally just becomes Hitler?
Now, can you see why PTA's bullshit answer about, I'm just a father, I'm just a tiny little dad, and all I care is about my tiny little children. 99.95 Hitler is okay with me.
Listen, if Hitler can make a movie as good as one bite after another, things might be different. No. That's going to be the new Hitler can make the trains on time. Hitler was good at cinematography. But hey, I mean, they mentioned the Nazis in this movie, Living End.
Not just mention, there's a whole ass skinhead in this who gets
True.
murdered.
Yeah, there's a character who's billed as neo-Nazi.
Yeah, who gets got by Luke. Which, I mean, Luke, biblical name, real justice there. Luke Skywalker, and now we have Luke, no last name, from The Living End. All of them, there might only be good Lukes in the world. I'm gonna put that out right now.
Yeah, there's definitely no bad white men named Luke. Don't worry about it. If you're when you're swiping on Bumble for your boyfriend and you find Luke, you found your soulmate immediately.
I love the idea that Luke Skywalker is in the world. And the neo-Nazi gets got by Luke, and Luke kills so many people in this. And I want to mention something here. There's like a lot of gruesome topics in this movie. The violence towards these random characters is almost always comical. Like, I do believe one death in this is at the hands of a stereo to the head. So, real Looney Tunes.
Yeah, like one of the first kills happens after like Luke has sex with this guy who picks him up, and then like his like the guy's partner comes home and she's like, "Oh, bisexual, that's so 70s. That's not anymore. I have to kill you now." So there's definitely some comedy in these kills.
I was anti-bisexual because I'm like, oh, make up your mind. Now I'm anti-bisexual because it's not the hipster thing to do. What do you mean? You're you're decades old. Come on.
So you be
queer.
You're like, be queer, be pansexual.
Yeah. Be something real and something considerate. Be pansexual.
As someone with a bisexual girlfriend, I legally have to say that I support bisexual people. But yeah, I mean, look, there are a lot of. I'd rather be stuck in the 70s than single like you.
I would rather be single like me than be with a vampiric creature like a bisexual.
But yeah, so when Luke kills this neo-Nazi, it brings to mind a central tenet of this It miniseries of like what happens after it. And in this instance, it feels like there's this freeing of Luke to do whatever the hell he wants, which includes like if someone is homophobic towards him, he can just kill them.
Okay, let's be honest. Would we write that down on the new Constitution? Would you write that down? Is that the First or Second Amendment for you in the Constitution? New queer Constitution.
I think it has to be the 69th.
Nice.
We start with 69 and then we go down. It's, queers do it differently.
Is 68 or 70 the right to poppers?
It's got to be 68. Because people writing this are going to be very ADHD brain, and they're going to jump right from killing homophobes to poppers.
Even though that, like, famously, when you're 69, and you don't need poppers. Unless you're doing it right, actually.
Well, that's why it's 68, because it's a different day of the week.
And
yeah.
And I think that, like, it is really Looney Tunes. And honestly, like, I'd much rather the violence be this silly bullshit of, like, incredibly, like, blood-splattered shots and killing people with stereos and running people over and so on, because that's at least comical. That's at least, like, separates, like, reality from fiction. Especially in a moment with a lot of violence just being presented through the literal 5 screens I have in front of me. I would say that I much rather enjoyed the, like, silly violence than the real horrors that are presented, which is like the sexual violence, which none of that I liked.
Yeah, I definitely think. I think for me the worst is at the end of the movie, which spoilers for a movie that's like the same age as me. But the end of the movie is this sexual violence between the two main characters. I mean, Luke rapes John. Like, there's basically John wants to leave Luke, and Luke is like no, and he knocks John out. The next thing they know, Luke is having sex with John. There's a gun being pointed to Luke's head because that's how Luke wants to die. He wants to die orgasming. And that was definitely tough to watch.
He wants to blow his brains out as he's blowing his nut out.
Exactly. And yeah, I think part of the reason why this violence between the two main characters is it hurts more than some of these more bloody murders is because I was rooting for these two characters. I definitely was like, oh, this is pretty toxic, but I think until that point, I was still hoping that they could both have a happy ending. But like once that happens, there's no way that this relationship will ever be healthy. And, it kind of ends with them still together. It's not really a period. It's more of an ellipses. And yeah, I left a little bit sad, but I think it's the type of thing where just because a gay movie has a quote unquote sad ending doesn't mean it's a bad ending. I know a lot of people are like, oh, if my two favorite gay characters aren't together at the end of the movie and they're not happy, then I'm not happy. And I'm definitely not on that way.
It's very vampiric, right? It definitely is Louis in Lestat. It is very much Dracula and everyone that Dracula has been with. Where, like, the general morality or ethics of, like, human beings gets pushed aside because a supernatural aspect is added. And, like, if we talk about Louis and Lestat, that means that being a vampire is so lonely. There's a loneliness to being a vampire. And the attempt to, like, live this very sensual, very hedonistic life is a way to like try to like numb that, try to remove that loneliness, or because of that loneliness even. And that's why like vampires are attracted to each other, even though the vampires are like going to clash by the mere fact that they are fighting for the same resource. And although gay people are not vampires, last time I checked, I do find it interesting that Araki uses this concept of the vampire and the doomed relationship, and even gets a call out. I mean, it's textual even to represent this like relationship in between two doomed characters with AIDS that know that they're going to die, and all the like oddities that come with that. They regularly tell each other that they believe that they're the only ones for each other. they they have these passionate kisses and fuck sessions before the like sexual assault that just shows a depth of attraction, of passion towards each other. And I think because of that, it it might be a sad ending, but it's not a bad ending, as he said. It really is just the sense that these two characters were gonna clash into each other, and they're the only people that could have clashed into each other at the right time, at the right place.
Yeah, I think the Louis Lestat comparison is interesting because that's another toxic relationship, another one where abuse happens, physical abuse. Uh, in that case, Lestat on Louis. Um, and yeah, I think I want to kind of bring in the character of Darcy to this conversation. She's the third main character. She is John's friend before he meets Luke, and she kind of acts as an anchor to John's old life. And I think I was watching this, I was hoping that John would go back to Darcy for both of their sakes. You know, Darcy, she is very adrift without John. She's so worried for him. Her own romantic relationship is deteriorating, and all she can really think about is John. And you know, I it's a tricky thing because with it's like John knows that he's not going to live forever, and so to him, Luke does seem like the only one for him, but he has someone calling back for him, and you know Darcy can't fulfill the same needs that Luke can, but she does represent this life outside of Luke. And as things get more toxic through as the film goes on, I did hope that John would leave Luke, go back to Darcy, and find a new life, even if Darcy kind of did represent that life before the it.
And yeah, like she can represent the status quo. If we're gonna overlay our miniseries theme to this character, she can represent the status quo, and she can also represent the changing from the status quo into a positive thing, into a nurturing thing. She is the only one that like shows any sort of real care for John. Luke is pantomiming care, maybe, but he's still also the source of a lot of bullshit. Darcy isn't. She is a character who only presents love and care to John.
With this mini series, one of the things that we're talking about is you don't have to wait to start caring for your community. And with these two characters, this idea is presented of, you know, everything is different now. We can do whatever we want. And, you know, many people listening to this, you may be waiting for that it whether it be Trump dying or some catastrophe where it's like, oh, now I can go purge mode. Now I can do what I want. And I think Darcy kind of represents this. You can show care before the it happens. Now, is Darcy in a healthy place at the end of the movie? Not really. We kind of leave her alone. She's trying to take care of John's place. The fish is already dead. She's kind of having a mental breakdown. But yeah, it does. I think what these people were missing was community. If they could have had that, then maybe they could have continued even after the it happens.
And she really represents this second order effect that can arrive when this quote unquote it happens, because she didn't contract AIDS. She is not in a psychosexual self-destructive relationship with Luke. Even her real boyfriend, the one that like both gets ignored and is also a little bit shitty, it's not like abusive. It's not negative per se. It might not be picture perfect, but it's not. There's no cause for concern there. And
yeah, I mean, he cheats on her, which is bad, but yeah, he's not like abusive to her.
Right. Which can be its own abuse, but he's not like beating her, for example. He's not pulling a gun and putting it into his mouth for the sake of his sexual pleasure. And she represents a second order effect because, like, as you say, community. She's part of the community with John, and the people around you hurt when you hurt. And therefore, you also need to present a real sense of stability to people when they're hurting and you're not, for the sake of the inverse, whenever that will happen, because it will happen.
But I think we need to start talking about the most important thing, which is this movie made you want to have a boyfriend, which is a pretty wild thing to think about.
Yeah, I do have a bit of a self-destructive streak right now. I mean, I'm not going to do anything bad, or nothing bad's going to happen to me per se. But it is, it is nice imagining a person who is, I don't know, in a similar position as me, and is willing to like go full hog and go hog wild with it. Like, I would love that. I don't know what that really means in my life per se, but seeing the tenderness of Luke and John when they're kissing, they give each other these soft, delicate kisses where I'm just like, damn, where can I get some? How can I Uber Eats that right now? And
yeah,
and it just, I don't know. I am gay, right? I am attracted to men. But sometimes I don't see like male and male relationships where I'm like, I'm jealous of that. And it just so happens that I'm in the place in my life right now where I'm like, ooh, two destructive baddies beating up Nazis? I would love that to be me.
Yeah, I think this is the type of thing where it's very common for movies to have relationships that people can kind of glom onto and be like, oh, this is what I want. Even when it gets toxic, you have Toxic Yuri, of course.
Or Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah. Part of me wants to be like, oh, but it's so much better to have a secure, non-violent relationship. But I'm gonna let you have this one because I think you need it right now.
Oh, that's sweet. You're gonna let me
yeah.
have a self-destructive fantasy. Oh, that's community right there, folks. Write that down.
I mean, if you start dating someone who talks about wanting to put a loaded gun in either of your faces, I might have to step in. But of course, in this case, the gun didn't have any bullets, which I did laugh at that when that reveal happened, because it was just like, of course.
Yeah, I say I would like this. The thing is, though, that that it doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be self-destructive. I understand that like it's just a thought that came over my mind and I shared it with you. But I would never accept someone treating me like Luke treats John. I would never accept that. That would be like I'm not a young man. I'm not about to let someone walk over me, even if they are my podcast co-host.
Yeah, I remember when I was single for many, many years, and I felt a similar sense of desperation of like, oh my gosh, all these hot people on TV, I would love for any of them to be my girlfriend. And then, it's like, well, I don't want to be a pick me. But yeah, I mean, I think part of the reason for all queer media is to like be able to connect to something, whether it's to see yourself in something or see something you desire, even if like you don't want to map yourself one to one to that. So I'm happy that this movie gave that to you.
If we were going to follow this thread, do you think I Saw the TV Glow will fit into that for people? This interest in like having a bit of a genderqueer friendship that like can lead to self-discovery, even though that movie ended with more ambiguity than that. Do you see that? Would you say that
I definitely
fits?
do. I think a lot of the online reactions I've seen to that movie follow that. A lot of people being like, "Oh my gosh, I need to start thinking about if I'm a lesbian now." Sometimes people are joking. Sometimes the jokes are rooted in truth. There's that image in the movie. There's still time. I think even if it has a dark ending, a lot of hope is found in that movie. So yeah, I do think that 10 years from now, it's kind of like how Bernie Sanders turned a lot of people into socialists. Jane Schoenbrunn turned a lot of people trans.
Not me.
Yeah,
No matter how talented of a filmmaker you are, you can't trans this boy.
Yeah, the common theme throughout the show, you will always be cis. But you did mention Hog Wild, and I think something we have to mention is that there's a lack of hog in this movie. It's very gay. You do get to see Luke's butt a few different times, but you never see anyone's hog.
Literally, in the latest episode of JJK, there was more inference of dick than in this gay movie.
JJK pod time. So I think that I really enjoyed like the first 7 episodes. Then I tried watching like episode 8 and 9, and I was like, I'm enjoying this, but I think I might need to wait for the season to end to watch the rest of this because it felt just a little bit like, okay, now we're gonna watch this like lawyer drama. This like this guy who wants to be like a good lawyer, but then like the judicial system isn't going his way, so he starts killing people, which is like interesting. But like I think this season is much more kind of spread out than previous seasons. I mean, the fact that it's even called the Colon Game Part 1 tells you you're not going to get the whole story right away. So I do think that I need to wait. Now that I've gotten a taste of JJK, I kind of want the whole meal, and I can't get that from 1 or 2 episodes at once.
Tetsurandos needs to answer for his crimes. How can we be dangled with the culture of binge watching to have that not be the standard? Because I also want to just sit down and evacuate all thought and exist in Tokyo for upwards of 5 hours one weekend. Like, truly.
Mm-hmm.
I just want that.
Yeah.
Like, I want a boyfriend.
Yeah. And I'm very in favor of like episodic TV and like watching week to week. Like The Pit has been great for that this season. I think that JJK, it's like, oh, Tokyo Part 1, Tokyo Part 2, Tokyo Part 3. It's kind of like falling into that thing of like, you're not necessarily getting a full story in 1 week, and you kind of have to wait a bit for the entire thing. I mean, that's why like manga is great. Is like you can just like go to your local bookstore and it's like, oh, they got all JJK here. I'm just gonna sit here and just like keep reading this until I die.
And but you're an immortal vampire creature. That's not possible. You
Yeah,
know,
true.
but I bring up Takaba's cock because it's just so strange to me that there was no, like, I don't, it's not that I want these actors to like be be naked on screen, right? But there is just so much, there's just so much happening that I'm like, come on, are we not gonna see some, at least a prosthetic?
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's kind of like how the movie, one of the first scenes, you see these two lesbians. Uh, Luke hitches a ride with them, and there's this moment where they're gonna kiss,
Mm.
but you don't actually get to see their mouths touch each other. And part of me was like, oh well, I mean, if I was doing an improv scene, this would be what we have to do, because like we're technically not allowed to kiss each other on stage. They tell us if you want to kiss, do it after class, but
Nice.
I don't know if it was the same case. Like maybe they're like, oh, my actual girlfriend doesn't want me kissing other people in movies, so we're just gonna like fake the kiss. But yeah, there's another instance of like the movie not going all the way, which like there might be good reasons for, but you know, we're perverts, we're freaks. We want to see the lesbian kiss. We want to see the dick.
This, at some point, this needs to become the century of the cock. I have to say, like, maybe that might not be so feminist of me, but like, so what?
Right, yeah. 6 months after my bottom surgery, you're calling it the century of the cock. It's like, yeah. Oh, I don't need to be included. That's okay.
Bro, who cares about your dick? No, like, ain't nobody talking about that right now. We're talking about my member. So I want to talk about Luke and Luke's character just a little bit here. He does a couple. Greg Araki created this character that has these habits that just run through the whole movie. He is graffitiing everything, which I really like. He has a cigarette that he never smokes, which I really like. He has a bottle of water that's filled with Jack Daniels that he drinks through the whole thing, which I really like. And I mean, of course, he pulls out the gun, which I don't like as much. And he doesn't pull out his gun, I'll tell you that, which I don't like at all. And he also has like some great outfits. Like he was wearing this leather jacket through the whole thing, and he just looks great in it. The characterization of Luke, both the character work that Mike Dittrey did, and also how it represented in the screen, is just so fun to watch.
Luke is like presented as this like super sexy guy. You know, he has his shirt off, which is part of the reason why the lesbian is like flirting with him. Is she bisexual? We don't know, but he's kind of like this force that takes over the life of John. Like where Luke does something that John doesn't like, and then like John's talking to Darcy, and he's like, I'm just like addicted to this guy. I need to go back to him. And I think I think Mike Dietrich does a good job of kind of portraying that force that's like stronger than human. Where if he comes into anyone's life, you're probably either going to die, fall in love, or run away. Those are kind of your only options. Which is, I think, why it's interesting that a few different times in this movie, you get these snippets of other people's lives who are just like passing by. Like one of the most infamous one is you see two queer people leading each other like with a chain with like a leash, and at that moment, like they're the main characters. Like John and Luke are just kind of in the side characters in their story, and I think the Greg Araki does this good job of showing that there's a lot of life happening, not just with these two characters.
You know, you mentioned that Luke comes in and becomes this like overpowering force, and how John like makes and gets told by Darcy that like he's a bad person, and John's like, oh, I'm addicted to him, I want to go back. It makes me wonder how, I guess you could read Mike as a little bit of a, well, as using drugs to cope with AIDS and the reality of AIDS. I'm not gonna go super deep into this, but it just shows another level of like the discomfort that John has after the it happened, and the consequences of all of that, and how he is fundamentally not ready for it. That he could be swept up by negative figures and forces that are going to bring him more harm than good.
Yeah, I think when when this movie starts, John is just this film critic who has all these movie posters on his walls, and he definitely doesn't seem ready for this big change in his life. So I think that coinciding with me and Luke just kind of becomes his life. Especially, I feel like John's a bit of a people pleaser, and
He's absolutely a pushover.
yeah, when Luke's like, I gotta get out of here, John's like, well, okay, I'll drive. So yeah, I think they have many discussions of like about AIDS, and like they're like, oh, let's take some of my blood and inject it in Bush right now. I bet they'll find a cure immediately about like the socio-political causes of why so many gay people have AIDS, and why like the rich people don't, the people who are in power.
Which is wild because they're talking about H.W. Bush.
Yeah.
And who was running and who dealt a bad hand to the queer community at this time? Anthony Fauci. And you know what happened later on? In fact, rich people were getting COVID. And what did in fact happen? Operation Warp Drive, which led directly to the creation of the COVID vaccine, in part overseen by Fauci and Trump. And I'm just like, oh, this movie did not understand what it was saying in the sense that it would become reality. It was saying what it was saying, and it understood it because it's true.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting kind of drawing the connections between Reagan, H.W. Bush. I mean, really all the presidents. Like, let's not leave the Democrats off the line. Like, but this movie specifically notes H.W. Bush, and I think oftentimes when we talk about AIDS in America, we talk about Reagan, because Reagan and Nancy Reagan, I mean, like, they're a big reason why the gay community didn't get the support they needed with HIV/AIDS, going all the way to now. And I think there's a good amount of queer media about HIV/AIDS, but whenever I watch something like this, it does make me want to watch more, because I think there's such a legacy in the queer community, thinking about like all the people we've lost because of this, and drawing that connection to COVID of all the poor and working class people who died, and how COVID it predominantly killed Black and brown people, and kind of like drawing all these connections. Unfortunately, the U.S. government is the villain throughout all this, and they're not going to stop being the villain anytime soon.
Ugh. Gregoraki, please. Please, Gregoraki, make a new one. Make a new movie to inject the actual AIDS into actual H.W. Bush.
Yeah, I wonder if there'll be a point in time where I'm like, okay, I've seen all the Gregoraki movies, I've seen all the John Waters movies, and now I get see a bunch of movies by some Latin queer cinephiles and just inject all the queer movies into my brain, and finally I will get a full picture of queer cinema. It still feels like I'm a bit of a newbie, still trying to catch up.
Well, that's what the show's about. Catching up on being gay. We didn't know that at the beginning of this, but here we are now.
Yeah. I mean, that's the great thing is, like, I definitely wish that I would have figured out that I'm trans and queer before the year 2020, 2021. And, you've had your own journey with queerness. You figured it out. Then it kind of left you for a bit, and now it's back and better than ever. And yeah, there's a lot of grief involved with that, but now we get to really enjoy the time when we can be as gay as possible.
Yeah. And this is the time to do it. I hear that the world's about to change, maybe. So might as well change into the gay. I hear the new leader of Iran is gay. That might be propaganda, but you know what? In my heart, real.
Yeah, everyone has a gay son, so it would make sense.
Yeah, gay son, podcaster daughter here, and we're gonna head directly into a section that we like to navigate, the Strait of Hope. And Marcy, what is bringing you hope or any positive emotions these days?
Yeah, I think what's bringing me positive emotions is improv. Hate to say it, but it's the answer.
Yes, and
I think exactly. I think just being able to laugh with other people, I think that gives me hope. Making other people laugh gives me hope. And continuing on with my journey, I have optimism, both on my own experiences and the experiences of other people who I've been in class with. I think there's a lot of fun people out there. A bunch of them are queer, and I'm excited to see where they all go. And it's nice to have something that I can look forward to throughout the week, and it's fun to grow. So yeah, that's what's giving me hope.
Can we update our stereotypes? Can we maybe put the carabiner lesbian archetype in the trash bin of history and update it to the lesbian improv coalition? Come on.
Yeah, I mean, you were wearing a carabiner to one of our podcast episode recordings recently, so it may. I think it's being appropriated now by queer men.
What you call me? A carabiner? Wow. Wow. Is that I didn't realize I was podcasting with Paul Thomas Anderson.
My next movie will star Leonardo DiCaprio, and it will be another movie about inappropriate age gap relationships.
Let's be honest here. PT's next movie is probably gonna have Shia LaBeouf in it. Straight up.
If he somehow gets him to get nominated for Best Actor, that'll be something.
What's bringing me hope, you ask? After you didn't ask me if I was having gay sex, because I'm single and I'm a little bit of a fawn in a dark forest. And you the cazador with the rifle, 50 caliber. I have a lot of things bringing me hope, honestly.
Ooh, that's good.
And one of them is, no joke, the fact that spring is literally next week.
Yay!
This means that I am about to start making my plans for my garden, for what plants I want to grow. Are they going to be vegetables? Are they going to be fruits? Are they going to be legumes? I don't know yet, but I know that I'm excited Someone's gonna help me out this time around. I hope to be way more productive this year with my growth, and I hope this year one of the things that does grow is these damn strawberries and raspberries that I planted last year. And talk about a fawn in a dark forest. These little bitches that never grew. So I really hope that this year I could eat some fresh strawberries and raspberries. And for me to get there, it has to start, well, today. And soon enough.
That's exciting. Yeah, I know you often find it hard to find something to be hopeful for. So I'm glad that there's something. And yeah, I hope to eat some of those strawberries.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to feed you strawberries like you are the Caesar and I'm the Brutus.
Yeah, and it's funny that it's like, yeah, we're a week away from spring and it snowed last night. So we'll see if the Chicago weather will cooperate anytime soon.
Mm. I heard the Chicago Weather's directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Okay, all right, enough. Thank you so much for listening. This is Dovewhether. You can find us everywhere at Dovewhether. You can find us on
Spotify still, and
Instagram,
Bluesky, and YouTube, and everything, everywhere, all at once.
including your mom's house at Dovewhether. Give us 5 stars. Share with your friends. Share with your mom, even though she's already a fan. And yeah, you will continue to hear our dulcet voices throughout this year. And we will see you next time. Bye.
That's right. Bye.